All right, I want to kind of review a little bit here. Let me see how we're doing for a break. Yeah, we've got a break coming up in about 4.5 minutes. But for those of you that are new and have only been in OOTP maybe a week or two and just starting to kind of make your way around, swim around in the ocean a little bit, one thing I want to kind of remind people, the new people, about is the tournament format, because you can play tournaments for free. Doesn't cost you anything. And depending whether you're a Perfect Team Plus member or whether you're not, you can either play three of one type or two of one type. But I want to kind of review what Dishnet and Sporer went over in that first week of Perfect Team 24. Tournaments. Your goal is to kind of play the regular season and then make it to the playoffs, which are the PTCS. And in that round of the playoffs, if you do well enough, you can make it to the championship, which is the PTMS, the Perfect Team Master Series. And then there's even one after that, which is the ultimate, like the World Series, I believe. But you kind of want to make the playoffs first. So you do that by entering as many of usually one specific type of tournament. And there's 10 types of tournaments that you can enter for free to qualify for the playoffs for the first round. 7 of them are daily variants, where there's a new tournament every day. 1 of them is for weekly, so once a week. And then there's 2 for the perfect drafts. And yeah, they fill up quickly. The dailies fill up quickly. You have to kind of know when the new one's going to pop up. And just like the bronze tournaments that fill up so quickly, but then a new one comes around 10 seconds later. But based on how you do in these tournaments, you then get points that go on the leaderboard. And you don't get punished for doing poorly. So if you enter 10 tournaments and you win one of them, your 9 losses don't cost you anything. No points are deducted. You just get 0 for that tournament. Whereas the more you enter, the more likely you're going to place, get 3rd place, get 4th place, get 1st place, and then you're going to get those placing points to add to your leaderboard score. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but for that first round of the playoffs, how many qualify? Is it 128? Seems to me that number rings out from last year. 128 that kind of qualify for the monthly playoffs. Sea Shockers, okay, it is 128. And then 64 will advance twice a year. They do this, they have kind of a spring or a summer PTMS, and then they'll have a fall PTMS. And 64 will qualify for that one. So before I go in game and show you, some people kind of do a little bit better from visuals. This was the best visual that they put up. Let me make it full screen here. You kind of want to focus on one of these blue categories. So when you're entering tournaments, you want to always enter either the Iron Daily or the Bronze Daily or the Perfect Draft Daily. There's 10 different ones that you can choose from. Based on your results in any of these 10 blue categories, that will put you onto a leaderboard for that category. And if you're amongst the 128 top qualifiers, you will get an invite to this playoff tournament. And usually it's about once a month. So at the end of April, the top 128 Iron Daily players will get an invite to this tournament. And then based on how well you do in that tournament, you will get points that can qualify you for the biggie, the PTMS, that only 64 qualify. So there's probably going to be 6 or 7 of these because they're usually held once every month or once every 5 weeks. So if you play the April, the May, the June, the July, if you qualify for all of these and you do okay in these tournaments, you're probably going to make the big one. And remember, last year there was some really good cards like the Jackie Robinson. I think the Epa Rixby was given out. Really good cards for doing well in these tournaments. So again, new players, pick one of these in the tournament schedule. Try to get in as many as you can. The only other caveat here is all these ones on the left-hand side. So 4 and 4, these 8 tournaments, you have to have your own cards to use. So you have to, if you're in the iron tournaments, you have to have really good iron cards. If you're in the silver tournaments, you want really good silver cards. You have to own the cards on your perfect team to do well. These two on the right-hand side, the daily PD and the weekly PD, you don't have to own the cards. You choose cards from a draft. You are drafting players for that tournament, and you don't have to own the cards. So 8 of them are traditional tournaments. 2 of them are the perfect draft tournaments. All right, we are on an ad break. We will be back in a couple minutes and get into the game and go through one of these tournaments. We are back, and just before the ad break, I was talking about the tournaments and how to qualify for the different playoffs in the tournaments. So here you see the 10 different tournaments that have qualifiers for to get you into the championship series, and then depending how well you do in those, that can qualify you for that next level, which is the Masters series. And caps, yeah, Andy asked the question about caps. Caps are part of the dailies. So yeah, mixed in within these, you'll have the different cap tournaments. So we'll look at the different tournament possibilities. But again, I want to go through this because there's over 350 people here, and I know some of you are new players. Some of you are new to the game and you haven't really tried out the tournaments yet. And I like tournaments because you got nothing to lose except a little bit of your time. I don't like to play the traditional ones because I don't have a lot of the good enough cards to do well in there. So I like to kind of gamble and take my shot drafting a team, either the daily perfect or the weekly perfect, but zone in on one of them. Find one that is your niche that you're going to stick with and do as well as you can in that. Because again, you can get some really good cards as a result of it. So let me go into the game. And again, if you have any questions, if you're a new player and you have questions about tournament, there are a lot of really, really knowledgeable people in this chat that can help you out and answer those questions. So if I miss it, I apologize, but I'm going to focus on my screen and I'm going to enter another bronze tournament, unless it's full. Yes, it's full right now. So when you go to your main screen here and you click on the show tournaments, for those new people, here it shows you all the different possibilities. Now you can go and you can, personalize it a little bit more to show only specific tournaments or tournaments that have an entry fee, the different types of tournaments, and the different modes. It's so customizable what you can do here. You can also go and you can only show salary cap, where you have cap tournaments, where you have to budget based on the level that your card's at, not the salary of your card, like many salary cap other tournaments and other games, but based on the card level. So an iron 40 or a bronze 62, and on the status. If you don't want to see the games that are in progress, go click on only accepting teams, and then you have to apply your filter. You have to click that green button. So now when I scroll down, these are the tournaments that have spots that are available. These are traditional tournaments. These are tournaments where you have to put in a lineup with your cards. Most of them 26 cards. Cap tournaments might be a little less. So you have to own good enough cards to do well in a gold, in a silver, in a bronze. And did my game crash? Yes, it did. I don't know if you guys get that when you hover over the game with your mouse, if you get that crash, but especially in the tournament screen, when my mouse is kind of in that area, you get the crash. I know for EVC, sometimes it's when he opens a pack, I think, the little pack button. Funny how all of us have kind of unique things that crash the game. Let's try this again. And great, good to see you guys asking a lot of questions. That's awesome because, like I said, we have a lot of knowledgeable people here that can help you out. All right, clicking on show tournaments. And because I restarted the game, it resets all my set parameters. So if you want to reset them, you'd have to go back and reset them. I'm just going to leave them. So remember when I showed you that graph, that flow chart of all the different tournaments that you can enter? There are 8 specific ones for traditional tournaments that you can qualify for. So you might want to go and say, show me the dailies and apply filter. So here's the daily ones. Some of them are cap tournaments. Okay, so here's that iron one. If you want to try and qualify for the iron one, you'd enter a daily iron. Of course, it's full. And as someone pointed out, these fill up pretty quickly. Look at all the ones that show full. So you have to have kind of the right timing. So you enter and you enter and you enter as many of these as you can in one specific category. And then if you go over to tournament rankings on the far right-hand side here, you can go to your specific category. Remember, there's 10 of these. So if I'm always entering daily bronze, I click on that. I want to show the total rankings on the leaderboard. And then just like that, it will show you where you rank, who's in the top 10, the top 128. So this goes from April 3rd to April 30th. So this cycle is almost finished. So if you enter a lot of tournaments now, it's probably not going to help you unless you get really lucky. So you may want to start on May 1st, next Monday. And so we go through and Jim Bowden, the Sacramento River Bats, look at that, 221 points. Best finishes first. You know, a lot of names that we're familiar with. Monterre Dawn, congratulations. Zen Lunatic. These are the people that are playing the tournament daily bronze. Mr. Audit. So top 128. So we go down to 128. And that's kind of the bubble area. Bella Turtle 98 is kind of right on the bubble, the last one to qualify. And that's with a best finish of 7th. So you don't have to win these. You don't have to come 2nd, 3rd, and 4th all the time. Here's someone that's finished 7th as their best result, and it's good enough to get them into the top 128. Here's someone that's finished 8th as their best result, and they're 116th. Here's someone that's finished 12th as their best result, and they're 108. So again, you don't have to win all of these. You just want to consistently enter these. And again, whether it's the iron, same thing. We go to the daily iron, and it shows you the rankings for the total month. So D. Dempsey, hey, a viewer of the channel, and I believe a fellow educator, D. Dempsey, the Orleans Firebirds are leading the tournament daily iron. So guaranteed that D. Dempsey is going to make the first PTCS. And then if he does well in that, he might make the Master Series and get one of those great cards. The other thing that you have to remember is when you play these traditional tournaments, like I'm going to go daily and I'm going to go Iron. So there are 5 iron tournaments that you can choose from. If you want to stay in that daily iron category, there's 5 you can choose from. It's not just one type of tournament. Looks like there's 5. So constantly enter your iron, your iron, your iron. Remember, you have to use your own cards, and each of them have different criteria. One is 1955 settings, one's 1992 settings. Some are best of 5, some are round robin, some are best of 7. But these are the 5 iron tournaments that you can enter to gain points on this leaderboard. Again, traditional tournaments, you need your own cards. The other thing is, too, is that when you enter these tournaments, you're not just competing for points here, but you're competing for packs. This one, you get 3 diamond packs if you win. Here you get a choice pack. The other 2 at the bottom, 3 diamond packs. They're free to enter as long as you have, suitable cards that are going to get you a lineup in these tournaments. So there's your daily iron. Here's your bronze, 5 tournaments. You can enter the golds, 5 there as well. Diamond, a few less, only 3. You've got the open tournaments, where it's basically you can use any card that you want, but they're caps. So you've got the cap on it. And yeah, let me go back to the flow chart. So there's your 8 categories in traditional tournaments. Finish in the top 128. Every month, they have a PTCS with some great cards as prizes. Do well enough in 2 or 3 of these. Make the top 64. You can qualify for the PTMS. So that's kind of the best way I can explain it. I know it's a little bit convoluted, but hopefully it makes a little bit of sense for those new people. Like I said, the ones that I'm competing with are these ones because I don't own a lot of good cards yet. So I'm competing in the one where you get to draft your own players, and I'll show you what those look like. Yes, Average Madden Guy. Yeah, there's a lot of great posts out there that show you the different settings. Extoforas and Astor31 have come up with a great visual that I've shown from time to time, and you can usually find it in the Discord. Yeah, it's a really good visual that shows you how many starting pitchers, how many relievers, that kind of thing in terms of how to craft your lineup for those other eras. So when you click on your perfect draft, make sure you read the era. It's modern era. So anywhere 11, 12. Some people like to have 13 pitchers in modern era. I like 11 or 12. And then make sure you check if there's a designated hitter. Some tournaments have them, some don't have them. And it's a best of 7. So modern era, DH, best of 7. So you start that up, and then you go through your draft. And some rounds you pick 1 card, some rounds you pick 2 cards, some rounds you pick 5 cards towards the end. So because this is modern era, I like defense, especially for my center fielder, my shortstop. I like a good catcher ability. And then for pitchers, as your kidneys has mentioned, as many people have mentioned, I like to look at these home run and pitcher BABIP. So pitcher BABIP stuff, I like those to be blue as best as possible in the modern era settings. In the dead ball era settings, it might be different. So this is modern era. I don't like Kevin Brown because he's going to give up a lot of hits. Now, if I have a good defense, it might prevent some of those. So I'm going to look at Rube Foster. Look at that. Good pitcher BABIP, good stuff. Good control. I like this guy. So if you get Rube Foster in a perfect draft, good choice. Right team, Rube Foster, he's a winner. Yeah, it wasn't great choices. Some drafts you get really tough choices. Some drafts are a little easier. Neshik as a reliever, but I wanted that starter. Yep, definitely take the best starting pitcher as the first pick. Uh, I definitely in a early era, like if you're playing 1922 or 1930, you want to get your starters early because you only need 3 starting pitchers. In modern era, it all depends who you choose from. All right, next up, I like defense with my shortstop, 88 infield range. And for the new players, range tends to be kind of the key one that you're looking for. So when you look at the defensive ratings, you see 4 of them here, but range is kind of the accepted most valuable part of the defense. Don't get distracted so much up here at their positional ratings, although it helps, but look at the actual defensive ratings. So if you can get a guy at shortstop that's 90, 95, 100, pretty good defense. See Addy Joss, take Addy Joss. I would say even see Rube Foster, take Rube Foster. Unfortunately, they don't put the limited edition cards in here. So that Atlee Hammaker, we're not going to see them in perfect drafts. So this one, again, not a very good round. Chase Utley. For hitters, for the new people out there, kind of the accepted modern era look for is power and eye. High power, high eye. And of course, defense. If you can hit on a player with high power, high eye, and good defense, it's a good starting point. And also, as best as you can, avoid the live players. There's some good ones. Aaron Judge, Mike Trout. There are a few decent, good live players, but for the new players out there, you want to focus more on the historical players. So any card without a real face, a real player on it. Let's see. Tim says you had Foster in your TWIP showdown. And did he have a good tournament? Yeah. Well, look at him. Look at his ratings. Like he's above 80, barely in home run. Wow, just at the 80 mark. And he's above in the pitcher BABIP. And I like pitcher BABIP and I like stuff. I like the combination of those two. Home run, as long as it's kind of over 70, 75. So yeah, he has the makeup to have a good tournament. I agree with you. This one here, I'm not seeing a lot of choices here. So it's either Utley, the Silver Fox. I'm going to go with one. Let's go with one. Very good point. Very good point, Safari. New players out there, your starters especially, you don't want what Safari calls splitty. Splitty means that they're really high against one type of batter and low against the other. So Rube is a little better against the left-handed batters, but not overwhelmingly. In fact, his control is better against the right-handed batters. So yeah, he has a really good makeup to be one of your starters. The other thing that I see a lot of new players make mistakes on is they get caught up in the name. Don't necessarily get caught up in the name. So you see Satchel Paige and you go, oh, Satchel Paige, absolutely, I'm taking him. But look at the ratings. Not bad, but his pitcher BABIP's a little bit low for what I would like. If this was 80 or higher, I'd take him just like that. It's not quite there. I still might take him, but let's look at Zach Greinke. To me, a better pitcher than that Satchel Paige. Look at the high home run. Look at the high pitcher BABIP. Good control. His stuff, yeah, is a little bit weak, but I think it's still good enough to take him as a starter. So Zach Greinke, Duke Schneider, high power, high eye. So this is a tough one because you've got all the makeup of a good hitting card here, not necessarily defense. Cargo, no. So for me, I'd love to have two choices here. I would take Greinke and Schneider. Because I have a pitcher already, I'm going to go with the Duke. Because again, I can't pass up that high power and high eye. And, you know, for Cubs fan Steve, Ron Santo, he's got high power and eye. We compare him to Duke Schneider. So I think the card that's going to help me most when we compare the two bats, Duke Schneider. Ron Santo, good. But Duke Schneider, a little bit better. Yeah, so many choices like Greinke, Santo, Schneider. Went with the Duke. Too bad I couldn't finish my Jackie mission by taking Duke in tournaments. All right, here's a fun round. Here is a fun round because I recognize some really good names here. And when you do these enough, you kind of get to know which cards are good. I'm ignoring the live gold. Don't worry about them. There's you don't want live gold. So Billy Wagner, decent, right? His home run, but he's really splitty. Here's a case of a splitty card. Much better against the lefties. But he's decent. Roy Thomas is a very controversial one. I've seen players really praise this card because of that eye. And I've seen people go, but the power's way too low. But the BABIP's good. So some people love Roy Thomas in their lineup, some not so much. Here's a card I like. Fred Pfeffer. Look at that power. Look at that eye. Defense might cost you a little bit. It's got a little bit of speed. I've always had success with Pfeffer. He hits a lot of dingers for me. So I'm going to take Pfeffer. And the Negro League players, for the most part, not really good for modern day tournaments. Really good for maybe the 40s or 30s or 20s. But for the modern day environment, I haven't found many of them to be successful other than a handful. There are a few good ones. If you can get a Dink in bronze, if you can get Rube Foster, if you can get maybe a heavy, that has the good bat. Don't like his, look at the 60s for pitcher BABIP. Don't want that in the modern environment so much. Zeke. So a lot of relievers to choose from. Roy Thomas. Ew. Iridescence. Iridescent loves Roy Thomas but not so much in these tournaments. Absolutely. Yeah. There are some really good backup utility players. So you want to look for your Negro League players in your bronze and iron for sure. I'm going to go with Billy Wagner. Wagner and Pfeffer. No, Stormin, they do not. Cards are random and they're all taken from a big pool of cards. There are people out there that wish that everyone did have the same choices, but I kind of like this. I kind of like the randomness. If you get perfect Jackie Robinson in the first round, you got an advantage. You don't get them, yeah, I guess you got to draft better cards later on. So they do come from kind of a big pool of cards, but not the same ones. Yeah, EVC, exactly. So you can get away. Let's look at Oscar here. So Oscar has a bad pitcher BABIP. Anything under 70, I consider bad. But if you have great defenders, if you have a really good shortstop, if you have a really good third baseman, second baseman, he'll probably do a little better for you. Same can be said for home runs. If you have outstanding outfielders, left field, right field, center field, with really good range, you might get away with a little lower in the home run rating, but definitely for the pitcher BABIP. So again, I don't like this card. It's solid, but there's probably better cards out there. Stan Musial, a lot of people love this card. A lot of green there. Can play left field fairly well. So he's almost an automatic for me. I don't have a left fielder yet. So I'm going to take Stan and looking for power and eye. Power is okay, not so much eye. Snord is a big Stan man. Because of my choices here, power eye, good speed, but I've got Stan in left field and I've got a second baseman. So I might normally take Soriano if I had a position of need, but I'm going to go with, I've only got one pitcher, so I'm going to take Oscar. More so out of necessity more than a good card. Yeah, thanks, IBDB. Once I get to bronze, I usually go through it a lot quicker. Sammy String, a lot of people love this card. High eye, good power. So if you're looking for a second baseman and you don't have one by the time he comes up, he can also play left field, right field. Let's look at his outfield ratings. Not bad. And when you play tournaments, you get the fully developed card. So if you ever see a card that says 15 out of 87, in tournaments, you get 87 out of 87. He is maxed out. In league play, you have to train him, not in tournaments. So because I like this card, I'm going to take Sammy. And Rudy York is another one. I think there's a couple Rudy Yorks in the game. He's one that definitely you can play at first base. Power eye. Power eye. So I probably should be looking at pitchers. Ooh. What do you guys think about Gary Peters? Very splitty. So it's definitely going to be between York, Peters, and String. See, this pitcher BABIP way too low. Avoid taking this pitcher. Not going to give up a lot of home runs. As EVC mentioned, yeah, it having a strong defense might not prevent home runs, but he's going to give up a lot of hits. Peters, okay, Peters. I think I'm going to go Peters and York because I do have a second baseman with Pfeffer already. And you can also change your fielder. So I'm going to go to Stan Musial. I'm going to right click him, set position, and put him in left field. So as you're drafting, you can kind of change positions. So Peters and York. Thank you, Safari, for that. Peters works in tourneys as a number 3 starter or lower. So he is my number 3 starter. Although he's probably better than Oscar. Might be my number 2 guy. All right, we got to speed things up. I need first base, third base, right field, and DH. Candy. Here's where who mentioned that? I think C mentioned that. I think Sea Shockers, yes, about utility. I'm going to take, I need a third baseman, Candy Jim Taylor. Pretty good, really good utility card. Can play 5 positions. Speed, he can bunt. Yeah, good silver card. And after that, I usually just hover over them and look for power and eye. Power, eye. I do need a right fielder, not the best defender. Another utility card. I'm going to go Larry Walker and Candy Jim. Very well said. It helps you later on in the draft kind of determine which positions you need to fill in. If you know, if I have one catcher, but I draft another guy that can play catcher like Rudy York, I don't have to worry about another catcher. I can take one still, but I don't have to because I know I've got at least 2 that can play the position. Frank Grant. Already got a second baseman, not really a good utility player. So I'm going to take, I think, Frank Tanana. Really good pitcher, BABIP. Really good stuff. Good as a number 4. Going to take him and probably should get another reliever soon. Yep, I like the numbers on this guy. Very low control, but I don't worry about control for my relievers too much. When you see that high pitcher BABIP, high home run, good enough for me. I forgot which one that was. All right, let's check Freddie first. Freddie. He's pretty good too. All right, let's take Freddie. Got my 5 pitchers. You want to get probably at least 4 of your starters by this time, by silver. And now I've got to speed things up. I'm just going to go Bob Feller and Bobby Shantz. So fill in some pitcher roles. High pitcher BABIP. Might give up some home runs, but he's going to be my bullpen anyway. All right, 7, 8 pitchers. And once you get to bronze, kind of look for those utility players and defense. Utility and defense. Because you should have most of your lineup set already. Let's go Justin. All right, I could use one more catcher. I'm going to take Gary Sand. Actually, I'm going to take Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra is a great card to get in bronze. Left field and catcher. Got some power. So really good utility guy. And I like this first baseman. Look at this card. Look at the power. Eyes low, but look at that power. He's going to be coming off the bench anyway. All right, next up, we need a backup shortstop and another reliever. And last round, pick 5 cards. I need 8, 9, 10, at least one pitcher. Another corner fielder. Let's take 2. Let's take a center fielder. And a second baseman if there's one. No, there isn't. So because of time, there we go. And if your timer runs out, usually they give you like another 30 seconds to finish off. You might be able to finish off 1 or 2 rounds once your timer runs out. Billy, I'm going to put you as my stopper. I'm going to go middle relief on all these guys just because I usually do that. And secondary role, that's where I might put my specialist, my setup. Strategy, modern era. The word is stealing bases is low. Oh, and we're getting some thunder and rain here, guys. So if I go off the air, it's because of the thunder. storm that Edmonton, Alberta is getting. Hit and run a little bit lower. Intentional walk a little bit lower. Crank up your starters. Yeah, it's kind of what I use. I use the 97-71 trick that your kidneys has taught me. And for my pitchers, look at the stamina. Highest is 110 for Rube Foster. So I kind of set my pitcher limit at whatever my highest pitcher is, 110. Relievers, a little bit less. 30. And again, this is kind of the global strategy. If you have someone that's a really good base runner, if you have a Ricky Henderson, someone that can steal those bases, then you might want to go in and go to the strategy and crank up the running a little bit more. Only on hitters that have really, really exceptional speed. Want to make sure you have secondary positions for your left and right-handed lineup. Submit it. And I always like to sort by contact. And again, you can go into your batting ratings and you can customize it. Click on batting ratings and pick the categories that you want to see. Take off ones you don't want, add the ones that you do want. I like to have the individual contact versus righties, contact versus lefties, and power. So you see contact, power versus lefties, contact, power versus the righties. Then I like to sort them by contact just to make sure they're not leaving out anyone that should be starting. Power, Luke as my first baseman against the righties. Let's go back to this one. Luke as my first baseman versus the lefties. I'm going to put him in instead of Smoke. And otherwise, Luke instead of Smoke. So let's see. Luke versus Justin Smoke. So definitely I'm putting Luke just for the power capability. It's fine to have him on the bench if you want him as a pinch hitter. Yeah, absolutely. Defense, though, it's going to cost me a little bit of defense. It's going to cost me quite a bit at defense. So I'm only going to put Luke in against the righties. Smoke, you stay in against the lefties. Go, top pinch hitter. And because of his high power, too, if you have a guy on the bench that you want to make sure has a high leverage pinch hit situation, go into the strategy, go down here to the bottom, and click Save for high leverage pinch hit chance. So bottom of the ninth, you're down by 1 run, 2 out, got a pinch hitter coming in, or you need 3 runs to win the game, bring in this guy here. He's got the power. He's the guy you want at the plate that can hit that game-winning home run in the bottom of the ninth. And EVC does exactly what I do. Build up your perfect point and your pack economy. Perfect. So what EVC means by that, once I'm done the tournament, I click submit again just to make sure it registers. Again, you can go play around with the strategy. I like to have 5 starters. You can organize it however you want. I use a lot of the default kind of settings and just kind of tweak it a little bit. But Midnight Dreary, great name, by the way. What EVC was talking about is get some cards, invest in some cards where you can enter into either iron or bronze. And bronze is kind of the most recommended because they fire up quicker. You can enter them a lot more than you can the iron because they don't take as long to finish. You can enter up to 3 of them or 4 of them if you're a Perfect Plus member, and just keep entering. Let's go take a look at my bronze team. This is what I get most of my packs from. This and watching affiliate streamers, where you can get 5 a day plus an additional 5 from the official streamers, 10 packs a day there, and you can win 3, 6, 10, 12 packs a day by setting up a really good bronze or iron tournament team. For the first one, just pick players that qualify. Enter into it. Get entered into it. Then when it's done, go and look at the results. See if there's any pitchers that are doing well. And these are pretty cheap players to get. So my starting 5, Carl Lundgren. I go to the card shop, 249 perfect points. Well worth the investment, in my opinion. Fred, 50 perfect points. So with an iron and a bronze tournament team, you can very inexpensively, probably for less than 1,000 perfect points, build up a competitive team. For my hitters, some are going to be a little more pricey. Like I've got the bronze Jackie Robinson. It's going for 900 perfect points. But the trick is, if you can afford to wait a little bit, go to the pull down menu, click on new buy order, and put in a buy order of 700 or 750. And chances are someone's going to sell that to you within 24 hours. If it's a reasonable offer, you'll probably get someone that sells it for you. So if you want to save a few perfect points, you can put buy orders in. But some of the great cards, my favorite Negro League player card, Dick Mothel, going for 650, but he can catch first base, second base, third base, all 3 outfielder positions. He can bunt. He can bunt for a hit. He has some speed. Great card, but a little pricey. But the last 10 sales is 325. So if you put a buy order in of, say, 400, 450, someone will probably sell it to you. So yes, great advice, EVC. Go and enter in these bronze tournaments, iron tournaments, and build up your packs. I've got 53 packs. This is not affiliated. I don't have this one tied to Twitch. So all of these packs are just from tournaments or in-game achievements or missions.